Maps, like they seem so harmless, right? Just paper, lines, and colors telling you where to go. But if you look closer, maps aren't just guides. They're full of secrets, illusions, and wild stories that twist our idea of the world. Some stretch the truth, others hide it, and a few are just plain ridiculous. Today we're diving into 25 of the strangest, funniest, and most surprising map facts that will completely change how you see the planet. Before we set sail, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss an episode of mind-bending facts. Ready? Let's explore. 25. Greenland's giant lie. You've probably stared at a world map and thought Greenland looked as big as Africa. Spoiler, it's not even close. The Mercator projection, the type used in most classrooms, makes countries near the poles look massive while shrinking those near the equator. In reality, Africa is about 14 times larger than Greenland. The Mercator map was made for sailors in the 1500s, not accuracy. It kept compass direction straight but blew land sizes out of proportion. So next time you see Greenland looming large, remember, it's more Mexico-sized than continent-sized. 24. The perfect map is impossible. There's no such thing as a flawless world map, and there never will be. Try flattening a basketball. No matter how careful you are, it'll tear or warp somewhere. That's exactly what happens when you turn our spherical Earth into a flat sheet. Every map projection distorts something: size, shape, direction, or distance. So next time you see a new and improved map online, it's still a compromise, just one that distorts reality in a different way. 23. North doesn't have to be up. We've all been trained to think of north as up, but that's just a cultural decision. Ancient Islamic maps placed south at the top, while many medieval European maps faced east because that's where the Holy Land was. The term orientation literally comes from orient, meaning east. There's no cosmic rule about which way is up. Earth is floating in space. Flip a map upside down and it's still technically accurate. It just feels weird because we're used to seeing Europe on top. 22. The map that started a political war. In the 1970s, historian Arno Peters released a new world map that showed every country according to true area, and it shocked the world. Suddenly, Africa and South America looked huge, while Europe and North America shrank. Critics called it ugly, but Peters argued it revealed centuries of bias. His point? Maps aren't neutral. They can influence how we perceive power. The Peters projection remains controversial, but it forced the world to confront how geography can also be propaganda. 21. The origami-looking map that treated everyone equal. Architect Buckminster Fuller thought maps shouldn't have a top or center. So in 1943, he invented the Dymaxion map, cutting the globe into 20 triangles and unfolding it like origami. It looks bizarre, part puzzle, part Dungeons and Dragons die, but it's one of the most accurate flat projections ever made. Even cooler, you can rotate it any way you want. There's no privileged up. It's not just geometry. Fuller wanted a map that literally showed humanity on equal footing. 20. How scale tricks your brain. Maps can fool your sense of importance. When you zoom out, Russia looks enormous, but zoom in and you realize India, despite looking small, has far more people than Scandinavia combined. Big land doesn't always mean big influence. In other words, maps are like social media. Size and scale can make something look important, even when it's not. 19. The hidden bias of map placement. Have you noticed how Europe always sits neatly in the middle of many world maps? That's not an accident. It's tradition. For centuries, European mapmakers literally put themselves at the center of the world. American maps often do the same, shoving the US front and center. That little design choice subtly whispers, "We matter most." Color and placement affect psychology, even on paper. The next time you look at a map, ask yourself, whose world are you really seeing? 18. The world's first map was written in clay. The oldest known world map dates back to Babylon, 600 BCE, etched into a clay tablet called the Imago Mundi. It showed Babylon at the center of the universe, surrounded by seas and mystical lands. To the ancient Babylonians, geography and mythology were the same thing. Maps weren't about travel, they were about meaning. 17. Monsters lived on medieval maps. If you ever see a map from the Middle Ages, don't expect accuracy, expect dragons. Mapmakers filled the unknown with sea serpents, giant fish, and mythical lands. To them, monsters weren't fantasy. They were warnings. Here Be Monsters wasn't about scaring people. It was about explaining what they didn't understand. 16. Here Be Dragons was basically never used. Despite the myth, hardly any maps ever said, "Here be dragons." Only one surviving globe from the early 1500s includes the Latin version, but the phrase stuck in our imagination. Writers and storytellers loved the idea of unexplored lands marked by danger, so the legend outlived the reality. 15. Why medieval maps? I put Jerusalem in the middle. Back in the day, European maps weren't about accuracy, they were about faith. Many were drawn in a T and O layout, dividing the world into 3 parts: Asia, Europe, and Africa, with Jerusalem right at the center. To medieval Christians, this wasn't geography, it was theology in ink. 14. Ancient sailors made shockingly accurate charts. While scholars debated heaven and hell, sailors were busy mapping coastlines with insane precision. The portolan charts of the 13th century were so accurate, modern historians still marvel at how they did it without satellites. These hand-drawn maps had spiderwebs of compass lines radiating from ports, helping mariners navigate the seas centuries before GPS. 13. The map that fooled Columbus. Greek scholar Ptolemy wrote a geography manual in the 2nd century that guided map-making for over 1,000 years. But he badly underestimated Earth's size. When his work resurfaced in the Renaissance, explorers like Christopher Columbus trusted it and ended up thinking Asia was a short sail west. Oops! Ptolemy's miscalculation accidentally led to one of history's biggest discoveries, the Americas. 12. The fake streets. Trick to catch copycats? Mapmakers began hiding fake places on their maps, called trap streets. If someone copied your map and included a fake road or town, you had proof they stole your work. One fake town, Aglow, New York, became so well known that a real general store opened there, turning the fiction into reality. 11. The paper town that became real. Aglow's story is legendary, a made-up town that appeared on a map until locals started calling the crossroads by that name. Eventually, it showed up on real government maps. It's proof that if enough people believe something exists, it might just become true. 10. Governments' fake maps. Cartographers aren't the only ones who bend the truth. Governments do it too. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union intentionally altered streets, rivers, and landmarks to confuse enemies. Even today, some countries digitally blur or shift sensitive sites. The takeaway? Maps are never 100% objective. They can hide secrets as easily as they reveal them. 9. The world's longest border has no fence. The US-Canada border, the world's longest international boundary, runs for nearly 9,000 kilometers, and most of it is just an empty strip of cleared land through forests and lakes called the Border Vista. In some small towns, the line literally cuts through homes and libraries. You can have lunch in the US and dessert in Canada without moving your chair. 8. How Europe drew. Africa's borders. At the Berlin Conference of 1884, European powers divided Africa by drawing straight lines on a map. With zero regard for tribes, languages, or cultures, those artificial borders still shape modern Africa, causing countless political and ethnic tension. It's one of history's clearest examples of how maps can be weapons of control. 7. Why paper maps refuse to die. Even with GPS and Google Maps, paper maps aren't obsolete. Soldiers, pilots, and explorers still rely on them because paper doesn't need Wi-Fi or batteries. Plus, spreading out a physical map gives you a sense of the whole landscape in a way no smartphone can. When technology fails, paper always finds the way home. 6. Drawing the wrong map can get you arrested. In China, it's illegal to publish a map that contradicts the government's official boundaries, especially when it comes to Taiwan or the South China Sea. Maps there are as political as they are geographic, and getting them wrong can land you serious fines. Or worse. 5. The South Up Revolution. If North doesn't have to be up, why not flip the whole thing? South Up maps do exactly that and placing the Southern Hemisphere on top. Australians love them because for once they're literally above everyone else. It's a fun reminder that up and down are just perspectives. Change your map and you change your mindset. 4. Paris. Once tried to be the world's center. Before Greenwich, England became the zero longitude line. France claimed that honor. For centuries, French maps were based on the Paris Meridian, which ran straight through the city. You can still find bronze medallions marking it in Paris streets, quiet relics of a time when the world almost measured time by French standards instead of British. 3. The timeline that can't draw a straight line. The international date line isn't straight at all. It zigzags like spaghetti to keep countries from being split between 2 different days. Islands like Kiribati even moved the line eastward so their entire nation could live in the same time zone. So yes, a country can literally jump ahead or behind in time, depending on how they draw the line. 2. Google Maps never sleeps. Think the map on your phone is static? Think again. Google Maps updates thousands of times every day, adding roads, removing businesses, adjusting landmarks, and correcting mistakes. Your local street might look different tomorrow because maps are alive, constantly evolving with the world they reflect. 1. Maps that warp the world on purpose. Ever seen a map where countries look blown up or squished? That's a cartogram, a map that resizes countries based on data, like population or economy. The result looks ridiculous. India and China balloon, Canada nearly disappears. But these maps tell stories numbers alone can't. They distort space to reveal truth. Did you know the largest map in the world is carved into the ground in Spain? It's a stone recreation of the Roman Empire spanning 600 square meters. It's big enough to walk across history itself. And there you have it. 25 incredible facts that prove maps are way more than just tools for travel. Which one blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell, because next time we're exploring even stranger sides of our planet.